Benjamin Netanyahu will attend a conference on Iran in Poland next month. The Prime Minister's office has confirmed he'll be attending the event in Warsaw, as will U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and representatives from Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the Gulf states. Representatives from all over the world were invited to the conference, despite heavy pressure from Iran to stop senior officials from taking part. With me now in studio to discuss our senior Middle East correspondent, Mohammad Al-Kassim, and our senior international affairs correspondent, Owen Alterman. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me for this. Owen, I want to begin with you and the meaning of Prime Minister Netanyahu. We know his stance on Iran, of course, being part of a conference like this.
Well, first of all, Ayman, you broke the rules. You're not supposed to say that this is an anti-Iran conference.
God forbid. Let's not say Iran 3 times in a row.
Just be careful. Listen, of course, when this conference was announced, it was announced by Mike Pompeo in his visit to Bahrain as part of his Middle East tour. And it was framed as a conference meant to isolate Iran and meant to show the international opposition to Iran. Of course, there are a lot of countries that still want to do business with Iran and still want ties with Iran, particularly in Europe. So the U.S. State Department and the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs were forced to backtrack. And if you look at the latest statements on this conference, the word Iran is not mentioned. It talks about stability in the Middle East and resolving conflicts and the situation in Syria, but the word Iran is not there. That said, of course, it's not officially an anti-Iran conference, but boy, does it look like one. And of course, that makes it a natural fit for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm curious about why he waited this long to RSVP. You couldn't imagine a more perfect event for the Israeli Prime Minister. He gets to go to Warsaw. Presumably, he gets to give a big speech. By all accounts, foreign ministers from the Arab world would be there. I know that the UAE foreign minister, for example, has officially confirmed, and other Arab foreign ministers are expected to attend. So Netanyahu gets to be on that stage, gets to be at this event with Arab foreign ministers. Again, a prime minister who never tires of talking about Israel's ties with the moderate Arab states, as he likes to call them. Again, a major event for Benjamin Netanyahu, and of course, only 2 months away from the election here in Israel. So again, a perfect event for him. And we'll see him there in Warsaw.
Speaking of those who are happy to attend, Mohammad, of course, Saudi Arabia, as we mentioned, one of the participants, also happy to take part in a not officially anti-Iran summit.
That's correct. And just like Israel and the Prime Minister, I think the Saudis are happy to see a conference that is out there to at least stop the growing influence of Iran and also maybe garner some support for more sanctions in Iran. Saudi Arabia has made it its goal to crack down in Iran, to stop Iran's influence in the region, to even take part and be happy and welcoming the U.S. decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear agreement, almost putting it in the same position as Israel when it comes to Iran. And that's going to embarrass the Arab countries as they come out against another Muslim country. Those are Muslim majority countries, and even though they're different sects, you're talking about Shia and Sunnis, at the end of the day, they're Muslims. And right now, the Iranians are not happy seeing those Arab countries do that, but they're used to it by now, especially coming from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. It's very interesting right now to see what position are they going to take and how the European Union will reflect or will react to this meeting. The European Union has kept its relationship, and they're not happy with President Trump's decision to withdraw from the nuclear agreement. It's going to be interesting to see what role will they play in this conference.
Right. Federica Mogherini, the EU foreign policy chief, just happens to have scheduling difficulties, so she won't make it to Warsaw. But Mohammed is right. One of the big questions is who else will be there other than the Americans, the Poles, the Israelis, and the Arabs? Again, an open question. But Ayman, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this event and what it could achieve. My opinion, at least from the perspectives of the organizers, particularly the U.S. State Department, even if it's only the Americans, the Poles, the Israelis, and the Arabs, I think they'll count this as a big success.
One of the harshest criticism, Ayman, coming from the Arab world is that the U.S. can put together, with the support of the Arabs and Israel and the Europeans, an international conference, anti-Iran conference, whatever you want to call it. They can't put together for the Palestinian cause.
Certainly, one of my favorite summits is Owen Alterman and Mohammad Al-Kassim.